I used to think of myself as being extremely unattractive. It hit the hardest when I was a young adult, from the age of about 18 to 22-ish. It was pretty bad. The absolute peak was probably around age 20. That was the worst year of my entire life in terms of my self-perception on the raw level of like physical attraction. I used to tell myself almost every day that I was just the ugliest person in the entire world. Outside of that, it's around that the freest, most happiest time of my entire life, if it weren't for that one cinder block weighing me down, and it felt like quite a heavy one because of the importance that you put on your own physical attraction at that age. Now, in my friend group, for a time, there was a gentleman who was very, very good looking. And I didn't inherently dislike him on that alone. But I remember hearing one day somebody telling me that they had heard from him that he's pretty open about his struggles with depression. And I couldn't compute that. I was like, he's such a good looking guy. How do you struggle with depression if you're beautiful? That doesn't make any sense to me. And on top of that, I was annoyed hearing that. It's like, you haven't earned that. That's saved for us lowly, homely type. We're allowed to be depressed. You attractive people aren't allowed to be. I'm putting that barrier there. And I remember specifically one night, all of us hanging out in a group, and him kind of sitting dejected off in the corner, being separated from everybody, self-isolating. I could tell going through some kind of emotional spell. And man, there's a part of me that felt a little bit of schadenfreude. A little bit of, man, it feels good that you're suffering right now. You very, very attractive man, it is good that you are feeling this. There was a part of me that was feeling that. There was also a rational part of me that was like, no, he's a good guy. He was always nice to me, It was very, very unkind of me to have those feelings, and I just had to be emotionally honest and say that they were there. I had no sympathy for the beautiful. I could not believe that they could have any problems whatsoever if they were as attractive as this man was. Now, of course, that's a terrible way to approach life from. First of all, I had and continue to struggle with a little bit. Not as much, but I had dysmorphia. I couldn't just put a name on what I was going through. And even just developing that clarity of dysmorphia makes it feel less like I see myself as ugly from a purely objective, totally true standpoint. But on top of that, if I am to not afford basic human empathy to somebody on the basis of being beautiful, I am removing myself from the possibility of being beautiful. Because why would I want to be a beautiful person if I'm going to think so unforgivingly towards somebody who's beautiful? If you lose my care and compassion, if you're attractive, then how can I possibly will for my own self to be as attractive as I can be? It's this distance you put between what you ironically want when you start doing that. And again, I can still kind of find myself going down those trappings sometimes. But the best tactic that I have for Seeing my own beauty is just admiring it in other people. And not idolizing the beautiful like I have also been guilty of doing in the past. But just seeing the equal value in someone who's beautiful and the equal struggle that somebody can go through when they're beautiful, because they're still human and so they're still subject to all the woes of humanity sometimes. But that equality goes both ways. It means that I can and I must be able to see the beauty that already exists within myself.